Hello, my name is Brandy Yates, and I am from Oklahoma. And so my state board rules and regulations come from the Oklahoma State Board of Rules and Regulations, which are very similar and follow right under the ACA Code of Ethics. According to the Oklahoma State Board, rules and regulations, they have informed consent stated as clients have the freedom to choose whether to enter into or remain in the counseling relationship and need adequate information about the counseling process and the LPC. LPCs have an obligation to review in writing and verbally with the client's rights and responsibilities of both the LPC and the client. Informed consent is an ongoing part of the counseling process, and LPCs appropriately document discussions of informed consent throughout the counseling relationship, which is exactly reflected in the ACA Code of Ethics. And I reviewed the informed consent agreement for treatment from Moore Counseling Center, which is in Moore, Oklahoma. And there were a lot of things I saw in this agreement that were portrayed exactly in the ACA Code of Ethics. And I love that they mention that this is essentially a living agreement, and that while things in the agreement are not subject to change, it's always an open conversation. And if at any point in time the client has further questions and wants to review anything that they reviewed in this agreement, that they are more than welcome to do so. They mentioned that several times in this agreement. Another thing that they have on their agreement is it is 4 pages long, and they have on each page a spot where the client initials that they have read through each page. And I think that's very straightforward with the client. And as well as it includes information on what to do if the counselor is not available in a crisis for the client. It gives very clear information on who the client is to contact in the situation of an emergency, and where they can go in their need of it in crisis. It also, on the very last page of this agreement, it gives a summary of what they're consenting to for treatment with this particular agency, and it goes over it reiterates what was already stated in the agreement, and it's straightforward about confidentiality. It's straightforward about what happens in the case of legal involvement, and it talks about the termination of relationship. It mentions if there is a need for a referral, and in regards to HIPAA, it mentions that they are legally bound to the HIPAA laws. And I read another article about informed consent by the American Journal for Psychotherapy, and in this article it mentions in the informed consent, if you offer e-therapy or telehealth, the being straightforward with your client in that informed consent agreement about the risks of security and confidentiality whenever it is through the internet, and how that has the potential to be there's always the potential, this article mentions, for hackers and security breaches, and just being straightforward with the client, making sure that they understand that telehealth, their confidentiality is protected, but also there is possible chances of it being breached by security purposes that cannot be controlled by the service provider. And so, yeah, I reviewed the Moore Counseling Center Informed Consent Agreement, and they abide both by the state. It seems that they have everything that the state board rules and regulations require and the ACA Code of Ethics.